Hello friends. In this video I am going to explain you about the complexity of algorithms in the subject design and analysis of algorithm. From the very first slide I am going to explain you about what is complexity, major factors in algorithm design and so on. Then we are able to find what is complexity and what are the different types of complexity. First is, what is complexity? As if the word complexity says that it is the level of difficulty in solving the mathematically posed problems as measured by two and most important two parameters or factors. The major and the first factor we can say is the time, and the second one is the memory or space required. Whatever the time required to solve a particular problem in terms of algorithms, that is from conversion of input to the output, whatever the time taken by the processor is called as, or by that algorithm is called as, the time complexity. And at the time of conversion of the input to the output, whatever the memory space required is called as the space complexity. In terms of these two, I am going to explain you in the next slide. There are certain major factors in algorithm design. First one is correctness. We have to analyze, we have to denote the correctness of the algorithm. An algorithm is said to be correct if for every input it halts with correct output. Whatever that correct output it is, every input there should be certain correct output. If the output is perfect, if the output is as expected, ultimately your correctness of the algorithm may get proved. An incorrect algorithm might not halt at all, or it might halt with an answer other than the desired one. For example, if you know that if the addition of two numbers, say 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, that is the desired answer. If you have created an algorithm for addition of two numbers and it shows that 2 plus 2 is equal to say 5, it means it is not correct. It have the answer, it shows the answer, but it is not the desired one. Ultimately your algorithm is of no use. Correct algorithm solves any type of computational problem. While designing the algorithm, there are certain principles that you have to take care of. Second one is efficiency of that algorithm. Efficiency of that algorithm is measured in terms of two different points. Do its analysis, that is the growth rate, and second one is compare the efficiencies of different algorithms for the same problem. There are two different parameters to compare. In terms of analysis, it is showing in the next slide. Algorithm analysis means predicting resources such as computational time and memory. First one is worst case analysis. There are three different cases of analysis. First is worst case, second one is average case, third one is, we can say that, best case. Worst case analysis, it means that it provides the upper bound on running time. It is an absolute guarantee that whatever that upper bound, the answer will be within that boundary, or the algorithm will move within that boundary. Average case analysis, it provides the expected running time. Expected running time, what it indicates? Whatever your algorithm which is running, the average time required to solve or to compute or to complete that algorithm is called as average case analysis of that algorithm. It provides the expected running time. It is very useful, but treat with care what is the average. Next is it may be any for any random inputs or equally likely inputs or real life inputs. For any different cases, you can definitely calculate about the average case analysis. Next is in terms of categorize the algorithm based on asymptotic growth, that is linear or quadratic or exponential. Ignore all the small constant and small inputs. You may not treat them as a part, but we have to ignore them to create a perfect and desired output algorithm. We have to ignore some small constant or small inputs. Estimate upper bound and lower bound on the growth rate of time complexity function. Describe the running time of algorithm as n grows to infinity. In the next slides, in the certain upcoming slides, I am now explaining how the n growth according to the growth rate, how the big O, that is asymptotic notation in terms of upper bound, will grow. And in my another videos as well, which is dedicatedly there for asymptotic notation, I have already explained it. Limitations, there are certain limitations while asymptotic notations are going on, not always useful for analysis on fixed size of inputs. If the data may vary, your algorithm or certain asymptotic notations may definitely vary. All results are for sufficiently large inputs. It is not like I have already said that we have to ignore certain small inputs or small data. It is simply for big or certain amount of sufficiently large inputs. Asymptotic notations are again carried out in terms of theta, big O, omega, small o, etc. We use theta means order exactly, order at most, that is upper bound, omega order at least, that is lower bound, small o tight upper bound, small omega tight lower bound. These are the main different asymptotic notations. Define a set of functions which is in practice used to compare two function size accordingly. What big O notation says that for a given function g of n which is greater than or equal to 0, which is denoted by order of g of n, the set of functions order of g of n is equal to the f of n if and only if there exists a positive constant c and n0 such that 0 is less than or equal to the function f of n is less than the constant g of n for all n those who are greater than n0. In the next slide, diagrammatically it is been proved that the function f of n is the order of g of n. Look like this. The constant g of n is the upper bound for the function, say f of n. We can say that g of n is an asymptotic upper bound for the function f of n. Certain examples to prove this, the function that f of n is g of n is the upper bound of the function f of n. There are the certain proofs. Next is big omega, or we can say that omega notation. It is completely in contrast with omega. It is completely in contrast with big O. Big O is the upper bound for the function f of n, whereas omega of n is the lower bound, or we can say that asymptotic lower bound for the function f of n. If the g is equal to n tends to r, then we can define big omega as for every function g of n which is denoted by omega of g of n is the set of that functions, there exist positive constant c and n0 such that 0 is less than constant g of n is less than the function less than or equal to the function f of n. For all functions n are greater than or equal to 0, as if we have already done. The function f of n is equal to omega of g of n. That means that the function g of n is an asymptotically lower bound for the function f of n. Intuitively we can say set of all functions whose rate of growth is same as or higher than that of g of n. This is the diagrammatic representation. G of n is an asymptotic lower bound for the function f of n for all n who are greater than or equal to 0. These are certain examples, and the third one that we are going to see in this PPT in this video is theta notation. The for until now we have only one constant. In this theta notation there are two constant exist, c1 g of n and c2 g of n, as if c1 acts as a upper bound for the function and c2 acts as a lower bound for the function, and in between these two there is a function which exists or which is running called as f of n. So the f of n is in other words we can say that the set of functions that have same rate of growth as g of n, and in other words in diagrammatic representation it looks like this, and in another word we can say that the function g of n is an asymptotically tight bound for the function f of n. It means f of n exists in between two constant g of c1 g of n and c2 g of n. It's a tight bound between these two constant called as theta. Certain notations and why it is useful, why the notations are useful, I'm going to explain it. Usefulness of notations: it is not always possible to determine the behavior of an algorithm using theta notation. For example, given a problem with n inputs, we may have an algorithm to solve it in a n square time, where n is the even and c is the constant for odd. Or we may prove that the algorithm never uses more than e multiplied by n square time and never less than f of n time. In either cases we can neither claim theta of n nor theta of n square to be the order of the time usage of the algorithm. Big O and omega notation will allow us to give at least partial information, not the complete information. So that's why the usefulness of the notation is. So thank you for patience hearing.